A little bit of a fan warning, some advisories to all listeners. This one might get a little bit painful.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Today, we're going to talk about that game. Hey, 3 strong rookie pitching performances in a row. That's a good thing. We're going to talk about some things that have gone poorly. Maybe some decisions that we should all take back. We're going to kind of go deep on the outfield situation to some degree. And we'll finally get into prospects and also talk about I might give us a bonus episode at the end of this week. I think I'm going to on Saturday, just as a heads up, give some guys who were let go their time to shine. But we're going to talk about why they had to let those guys go and all the guys who are moving around in the system. Justin, you were at the game. Why don't you lead off?
Yeah, it was quite the game, right? It was the second batter of the game. Drove in a run, and then after that, there wasn't much going on after that. Logan Allen had a 27 pitch first inning. He did a good job fighting with George Springer there. He said after the game he didn't want to walk him, and he didn't walk him. He hit the ball over the fence.
I take the walk. And that's
I would take the walk there too. And that's the difference with the Guardians right now and other teams is, look, they forced Kevin Gausman to throw 23 pitches in the first inning, so they did a good job battling with him. Stephen Kwan had a leadoff double to start the game. That was encouraging, and they couldn't get him in. So the one mistake Kevin Gausman made in a long pitch inning was a double that never came around to score. And the Blue Jays fought hard with Logan Allen in that first inning, especially George Springer, and his one mistake was a home run. That's the difference for Cleveland right now. When their pitchers do make a mistake, they're hit over the wall. When other pitchers make a mistake, they're a double or a single. That's where the Guardians' offense is, unfortunately, right now. In the last since the All-Star break, I guess the trade deadline, and Mandy Bell answered this question in her mailbag this week for MLB.com, and had a quote from Chris Antonetti talking about the innings cap for these rookie pitchers, and didn't really give obviously a hard innings cap. You're not going to sit there and say scientifically how many innings it's going to be, because you'd be the first one to figure that out if you have that science at some point. So no one knows, but he did mention the obvious indicators of, okay, we're going to look at guys' fatigue and how they're recovering and just how their stuff looks from start to start. And the start for Logan Allen wasn't really anything different or alarming than where he's been. It was a good start. It was kind of, he bended but didn't break. He walked 3 guys, gave the home run, and he was good otherwise. But this is a guy who has to have good command, who did have good command in the minors. And part of his issues in AAA last year when he got there was, when he didn't have good command, it came back to bite him pretty bad. And he was getting hit when he would leave the ball over the plate. And I kind of wonder if we're kind of seeing the same adjustment to him in the majors right now. If we are seeing, and again, he didn't pitch poorly. I'm not saying he pitched a bad game. The Blue Jays lineup is good. I'll say it's good. I don't know if it's not great.
It's hurt. It's not as good as it has been earlier in the year. But it's solid. It's a solid, slightly upper middle lineup.
And I don't want to take anything away from any of the rookies who pitched this week, because they all pitched fantastic this week. And Allen did a great job too. And he's only given him 3 runs his last 2 starts. So things have been pretty solid for him. But he has 7 walks the last 2 starts. Those are the kind of things that hurt him in AAA last year, when things kind of hit a bumpy patch for him for the first time. And obviously things are going to be challenging for him in the major league level at some point, because he doesn't have the velocity of Williams or Bybee to fall back on. He doesn't have, a traditional 4-pitch mix like Bybee does. And he's got to command the fastball. And what you saw in the first inning with like George Springer and all those other guys was, constant foul balls against the fastball, just constantly fouling it off. And he's trying to make the perfect pitch. And he kind of nibbles and tries to make the perfect pitch. And Bobby and Williams have both said the same thing about not going out there and being perfect and trying to just use their stuff to get by. And, Allen doesn't have premium stuff like that. He does have a good changeup. He does have a good sweeper. He's got to command the fastball, and the fastball does have good characteristics in terms of some pitch metrics that make it play up, but he's got to command it. So the fastball I think was down, I don't know, a mile an hour overall. Yeah, I mean, he averaged 90 with it. That was down almost a mile an hour from his season average. He at times has been 92, 94, and tonight he didn't even hit 93. So I don't know.
Fatigue.
Is it recency bias thinking about this, or was it a tough start? Like the command was kind of an issue. So you start to wonder, like, is he starting to hit a wall there? He only had 3 swings and misses. And to be fair, the Blue Jays don't strike out a ton. They walk a ton. They do that very well. So obviously they were going to be a good matchup in terms of offense for him, in terms of for them themselves anyway, even though they only got 1 run. So I don't know. You start to wonder if maybe he's hitting that, because he's got 130 points last year, and he's at 106 or 112 now after today, or 111 after today.
And those innings at the major league level are a lot more work than they are at the minor league level. So 112 were, much more of them at the upper level. He's in many ways, it's like he's already thrown what he threw last year. And he's a guy, again, you don't want to go look at his Savant page. It's not something that is stellar or leads you to have a lot of faith, but everything you talked about, it's like, he really has like one put away pitch and then other stuff to support that pitch. And then, he's just a solid lefty. I mean, he's basically, if everything works out, he's lefty Savali, right? Like that's what I was talking about yesterday when we were off the air to some degree with the secondary stuff.
Hopefully health.
Yes, better health. I mean, he's already had better health than Savali ever had in the minors. And the thing I'll say too, it's like with Logan Allen, the reason I think he'll have good health is, again, he was a two-way guy in college. He's a really good athlete. It doesn't always show, but he is a spectacular athlete, and I think that helps. I know people didn't like me being supportive of Gabby Arias on the show yesterday, but I'm going to say he bailed Sam Henches out of a massive jam in this one. The defense doesn't sleep with him. That's the thing. Like, the bat, he does look lost, but then I wonder, like, why does everyone look lost? Why does Josh Bell hit 3 home runs after immediately leaving Cleveland? Why does
I got so many texts about Josh Bell today? I was like ready to turn my phone off.
But it's just one of those things. Like, why, why is Steven Kwan good for 2 weeks then bad for 2 weeks? Why is there no consistency for anyone outside of Jose Ramirez with this team? It's maddening, because I know you and I spent time in the minors. We'd sit there and see the pitch charts, the hit charts. It's not like they're not talking to these guys about it. But I don't understand how it's not translating at all to any level of consistency. Like, I mean, we're going to get into some outfield stuff in segment 2 here. But it's like there was points today where I was like, Kwan's fine, but like one could argue this team needs 3 new outfielders next year. Like if you can't find enough consistency, is that, I don't think that, if he's not a center fielder, is that back good enough for a corner? For this team, yes, 100%. But it's like, there's it was last year a mirage, like it, and how much do we see guys like, again, doing some previews for segment 2, but you see Kwan, you see Oscar, and in year 2 the league's figured him out a little bit more. And I remember people got so mad when I talked about Kwan and some of those like stats that were a little worrisome, like his K rate going up, the walk rate going down back in May. And it's like, it's just, yeah, he had the double tonight, that's fine, and so did Oscar, and then he fell asleep at second. But that's the killer on this team. It's not necessarily the lack of offense. It's the lack of offensive consistency for anyone not named Jose or Josh Naylor before his injury.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at things like batting average on Paulson play, and it's been the base running in the defense to some extent. I think they haven't prevented as many runs this year.
And they're the third fastest team in baseball by sprint speed. And the top two, like the Pirates and the Reds are running I read the Eno Saris piece today about how much they're running. They're stealing third, they're stealing second. Third fastest team in baseball, and they're somehow running worse this year.
Yeah, it's really mind-boggling. Remember we talked about before the season started, we did that episode on the metric from 538 that it was the Manfred metric. Remember, that talked about the new rules and whose rosters were best set up to take advantage of them. It was Cleveland. It was Cleveland with all the contact, not being able to shift, the extra speed. All the rules were supposed to benefit them, and the rules haven't. And their average on balls in play hasn't gone down. So I wonder, I think defensively they were hurt because metrically speaking, Miles Straw was better last year defensively, and he's not as good this year. I'm not worried about the defense, truthfully, on the field. I think there was, like, we talked about that article about on Fangraphs that was good to explain that. But I mean, last year, because of the shift in positioning, they were able to make Ahmed Rosario like a passable defender at shortstop where he wasn't a killer. And this year they couldn't do that, and he was terrible. I mean, I hate to bag on Rosario more because he was put in a role he wasn't set up to succeed in more than anything here. Gabby Arias obviously make that play at shortstop. Ahmed Rosario doesn't make that play, and it doesn't matter. I will say, I even tweeted that. I said that how important that shortstop defense is. That game would have been 3-0, and they lost 1-0, so it didn't matter. That game would have been 3-0 if that play's not made, right? If you are a team that cannot score runs like the Guardians can't, run prevention is key. You have got to be able to put up run prevention, whether that's through pitching or defense. And the defense showed up right there. It's just at what cost do you sell out for run prevention for offense? And that seems to be their kind of breaking point with everything is plenty, enough run prevention now that you're playing four or five shortstops on the infield a night, depending on who's playing first base. I mean, heck, even Bo Naylor was third baseman as an amateur. And the outfield defense, I mean, you've got the other night, you had Cole Calhoun in right, who we're going to talk about in a second. He has won a Gold Glove previously. Ramon Laureano hasn't won a Gold Glove, but I feel like he should have, even though those are subjective.
He's not. We should take our first break and we can come back and debate it. I think he is a Shin-Shu Chu all-star type, where it's the arm and it's the skills, but it's not always the best route. But we got to take our first break. I'm going to cut you off here, and we'll be back in a second to talk more outfield on today's Locked On Guardians.
Well, if you're trying to get tickets to an upcoming Guardians game, they're still selling plenty of tickets. I know they got Manny Ramirez Hall of Fame bobblehead night coming up. That'll be well attended. That's a few weeks away, so you don't need to stress out about tickets for that if you use the Gametime app. Gametime has flash deals and last-minute tickets. They're easy to find. You get images of seat views, and you get a lowest price guarantee. So forget planning months in advance. Get exclusive flash deals on all sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater, all the good stuff. Gametime guarantee means you are always going to get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime is going to credit you 110% of the difference, not just 110%. So snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. When you do that, you can use code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKDOWNMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. 12, or is it 12:10? Is it 1:10? I don't even know the game time on Thursday. Anyway, you can listen to all the action. Hometown call, Tom Hamilton. I don't think he'll be calling any fights this time around. Hopefully not. But search Guardians on SiriusXM to listen while you're at work. That'll be, who is going in tomorrow? Is that Noah Syndergaard tomorrow?
No, I don't actually know. I've just been kind of like, I know if it's not one of the rookies, I haven't really cared to know who it is.
That'll be Noah Syndergaard and Alek Manoah. Funny, that's Noah Syndergaard faces his team he was a prospect with. He got traded to the Mets for R.A. Dickey.
Dickey.
Yeah. If you're doing your immaculate grid, I think R.A. Dickey is actually on. No, I don't think he's can qualify for today's immaculate or Wednesday's immaculate grid, but. Next week will be interesting. The Guardians also get to face Aaron Savali on Friday. How about that?
Oh, I might just.
I'm sure there will be no conversation surrounding that.
I might skip Twitter that night.
Yeah, no fun there. So, what's I saying? They ran out. So they had Cole Calhoun in right field the other night. They had Quan in left and Straw in center. That's 3 Gold Glovers. Even though I wouldn't really call Calhoun a plus defender anymore. He made that great catch, but I'm not sure he's like the caliber he used to be. And then Laureano's a good defender
cover a great amount of ground. Like that great catches again, because he is not. I mean, we saw it on that attempted steal that he was just, the legs aren't there anymore.
Can we talk about that? Because I was at the game. He had a great jump on that play, and he had 2 hits tonight. So we can't really, I can't really bag on him tonight, even though the idea of Cole Calhoun still does not sit well with me. He had an incredible jump off Kevin Gausman, and he was out by a mile. I know Alejandro Kirk made a fantastic throw, but you
He's
got to
not
jump
known
like
for
that,
his
man.
throws either.
No, he's got poor pop time, and you got to jump like that, man. You have to be safe. Like, and him and Quan had the only 3 hits at that point. Like, it's pretty rough. So, not as bad as Oscar Gonzalez at second base, though. He got caught. He was just not paying attention.
Yeah,
it was that was pretty bad. And to be fair to Oscar, his at bats were not awful tonight. Like, he had a 113-mile-an-hour double. He had a pitch. I think he ended up making an out, but he had a 13 pitch battle with Gausman early on where he did strike out. But that's fine. But at the end of the day, Oscar Gonzalez, I still don't see the fit on this roster for him right now. I don't see any fit. I think he's, you texted me that he was here. He's here because of last year, but he's also here because what other options do you really have at the moment? Like, he's only up because things didn't work out with Josh Bell, and he's only up because he moved on from Bell. And I wonder if Kyle Manzardo had been healthy, would he be up right now instead of I
don't know. I think they probably would have let him finish the year down there just with the way things are shaping up. And the other thing I texted you is, so I was thinking about the outfield today. I had a nice in-depth thought process on this.
Who wants to think about the Guardians outfield? Let's be real.
This is me though, and I was
thought experiment sometimes.
That's why I was like, I'm like, can Stephen Kwan? Like, everyone wants to put him in center field. I think it's interesting that they don't play him there. That it's always Brennan when someone wants to play center, because there are debates if he could play center field in the minors. Like, it's interesting to me how many people are like Kwan in center field. It's like, you don't even know if he could do that. Right. But right now, looking at this whole team, a year ago, Quan and Oscar were both great. It was interesting looking at Quan. I was looking into Savant data earlier. Like, his chase, his what is this called thing again? I'm gonna get it wrong, and then I'm gonna regret it. But just looking at his runs in the zone, swing and take profile last year, he was fifth. That was some of the best had 15 overall score, some of the best in baseball. This year he's at a 2. He's not even. He's like middle of the pack. And it's like in the heart of the zone and in the chase, he was, the heart of the zone isn't like spectacular, but the chase was, and both those numbers have come back. He is chasing more and he's missing more in the zone. And this is a guy who can't barrel a baseball to save his life. So it's a questionable profile if he's a left fielder, and you could get away with it if you had something more. So, but this is all just a setup to say, like, Oscar and Quan, it's both interesting as rookies. They were great and the league caught up. So Benson and Jones.
So let me start off by saying I'm not actually worried about Quan. Like, it would be better if he was a center fielder for sure. If he thought he could play the same defense in center, that would be much more ideal, because then you don't have to worry about the bat as much. Even though this team
worst hard hit and one of the 5 worst barrel guys, so it's and he doesn't walk enough, so it's all contact, which leads to high variance.
It does, but. Okay, I don't think Quan's the problem. I think that the problem is Quan's a good fit for any team. But I think what Cleveland has tried to do is they've tried to find 9 Quans. That's their issue. They have 8.
And I think with his profile,
that's too many Quan. Too much Quan.
I think with his profile, he's not really a top of the order guy. I think last year was kind of with everything breaking correct, and this year nothing is broke right. He's closer to league average, and when you have no power at all, I know he had the double, but it's a little bit trickier with him. But just to go back to the whole thing, the regression and the breakout of Oscar Gonzalez a year ago, I could not help but wonder, did that end up costing this team Will Benson and Nolan Jones? Because his performance a year ago was playing over his head, and sometimes rookies get hot. And again, maybe we'll see Benson and Jones crash back to earth next year, just like we've seen to a degree Quan, and to a much greater degree Jones crash back to earth this year, as teams now know how to face them. But because they had, they're like, oh, you can't give up on Gonzalez after the year he had. You've got Valera, you've got Brennan, you have all these outfielders. Well, we can move on from these two. And they never really gave either of them a chance or an opportunity. So if Oscar Gonzalez comes up and struggles a little bit more, maybe we see Benson or Jones get a chance last year, and maybe they're still here. And listen, Juan Brito is great, but Colorado wasn't going to roster him. They could have figured out another trade. There was another trade that would have worked. I will stand by that. Colorado is a very poor. Yeah, I mean, they're a very poor front office. Like they give up on guys like Brito all the time for something very short sighted. Cleveland could have made a better deal there. But the fact that they never tried either of those two guys, and I wasn't high on Benson, I'll be honest. Like guys like him who take that long to develop typically never do. I missed the boat, and I'll say it again. He's someone I missed on, but it's weird to never have given either of them a chance. And so, in a weird way, did Oscar Gonzalez cost them both these guys?
Yeah, I mean, they refused to take him out of the lineup late in the year, and it's hard to argue that they should have, considering how he was playing. But the reason they didn't put him on the 40-man roster to begin with in the winter, and the reason he wasn't up and he was, he got an invite to spring training. Any other team could have claimed him. They could have signed him to a minor league deal. Yeah. They could have got him in the Rule 5 draft, and nobody.
Well, there wasn't one that year, so they got.
Well, there wasn't one. You're right. There wasn't one.
He could have left and gone anywhere else as a minor league free agent.
Right. If any team out there would have said, "Hey, we think this guy is worth a major league contract instead of a minor league contract," because teams occasionally will do that with players. Instead of if there's an opportunity on the table where they think that this guy's a minor league free agent, but we think he's a major league player, you can do that in the past. Doesn't always work out, but I don't think any team ever thought that. And Oscar wanted to come back. But again, there's a reason that he didn't start the season with the team. And you just wish that, I don't know, like you've talked about this so many times, like Cleveland is trying so hard to find unicorns. Like Jose is a unicorn. Daniel Espino is a unicorn. They're hoping for all that. McKenzie.
Juan,
and
Oscar Gonzalez.
If it worked out, Oscar would be a unicorn because not a lot of guys can make that profile work. I mean, Javi Baez did it for years, but he also gave you Gold Glove defense at shortstop and speed and a lot more power in games. And now it's completely fallen apart on him, except for the defense. Gonzalez doesn't offer any of that. And this is not saying Oscar Gonzalez isn't the problem. It's the decision making here that's the problem. That, like you said, he ran with his chance last year, so he got more rope. And never let any of those guys in the lineup. And I think you would have liked the team to have some foresight to say, okay, we didn't really give Oscar the first shot last winter anyway, because we were skeptical about the performance in the minor leagues anyway, even though the numbers were good. So are we quick to believe that this is what he can be? And without seeing Nolan, without seeing Benson, and some of it too is Will Brennan late in the year too. Let's also talk about Will Brennan. And Will Brennan's an average player against right-handers right now. I think he's in the same boat as Stephen Kwan.
Yeah.
Right. They're very similar players, although
we know he can play. He probably plays center field better. But,
yeah. He's more aggressive than Kwan. There's more swing and miss there, but not a ton. Yeah. He's more aggressive. But they bet on those two guys, those profiles working at the major league level. And they're falling in love with that profile. And you have guys like Jones and Benson where it's great. Like I don't have a problem with Stephen Kwan leading off. He's got a 340 on base. As a leadoff hitter, that's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine when that is
it's up and then down, then up, then down. It's 2 weeks of great and 2 weeks of
he had a great July. Yeah, the rest of the season's been kind of rough. And you just can't build your whole team out of that. And Oscar, obviously has power in there, but he doesn't give you defense. He obviously doesn't give you the base running, even though he's fast now. He wasn't fast as a minor leaguer, I didn't think, but you know what I mean? Like you're right. I think the Nolan Jones thing, the Benson thing, the Reds are playing it right with him. He is not playing every day. He's only playing against right-handers. That's where he's going to succeed. And it's a good ballpark for him, even though he's doing just as well on the road. The Nolan Jones thing is kind of mind-boggling. I looked at the numbers and I thought, he's probably not hitting lefties. No, he's hitting lefties. He's probably just doing well in Coors Field because it's Coors Field. Nope, he's doing better on the road. He's got a higher OPS on the road, higher slug on the road. This is where we said it was going to be painful. And I do think Juan Brito is going to be a good player. I just don't know if he's going to be as good as Nolan Jones. And this team really could use a Nolan Jones. I know people are sick of this argument and they're sick of pounding their head into the wall with this, but this is the reality of the decision making, and it has to be questioned.
Yeah. And they could use either, and especially the team with no power. What we need to do is take a break and then come back, and we might just have to split up this prospect discussion over today and tomorrow as we try to keep this from going massively long. But we'll be back in a quick second on Locked On Guardians.
day game on Thursday. So after you listen to this, check out Guardians and Blue Jays in this series finale on your Sirius XM app. Just search Guardians. All right.
Why don't we? Should we start at the top or the back? I don't think we're gonna get it all today. So let's just pick. Are we gonna go like?
Where are you starting from?
It doesn't matter to me. It's like I have about 20 names.
I'm only 15 deep right now.
Yeah, I have about 20 names listed, but that's no guarantee that these could change. Do we want to just start at the back and work our way forward? Leave some things? So should we start at 15?
Yeah, right now I've got Khalil Watson at 15, just mostly due to upside, and it's an extreme risk profile, obviously, and the upside's immense. So I think he's probably a top 10 talent. I just need to see them. I wonder if I'm ranking him lower because I don't know if I believe Cleveland is the right place for him to fix his issues.
His profile, yeah.
Yes.
I have him higher. I'll be honest there, but I have. Oh, actually, so I thought I had Franco Alman at 15, but he's 16. So Parker Messick at 15. He's performed well. I still think it
had a good day on Wednesday. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I watched some of that.
And
93.
The thing with him, I jokingly said off air, maybe this could be in trouble. Maybe I should stand up and show I'm a husky dude myself, but it seems that Cleveland's new market inefficiency is out of shape players. They took a few last year. They took a chance. Yes. They took a few this year. And I say this as someone who's out of shape. And yeah, I could say it's like baseball for a while is not like guys who are thicker. Like there is definitely a thing that will, Parker Messick's biggest ding coming out of college was lack of conditioning. But he carved up every team he faced. So, it's again, just getting him to add some miles per hour, getting him to work through things. I think he could still get stronger physically, having looked at him. It's like if he really dedicates himself, really spends some more time on things. He's in his 20s, so your body's still very morphable at that point in time. I remember those good old days when I would like gain and lose like 10, 15 pounds in a month if I really not gain, but I could lose it if I really put forth some effort and like was hitting everything. I was doing the weight room and monitoring my intake and all that good stuff. So I still think there could be more to unlock because just what's there as a net to begin with is solid. I don't know if he's not a starter right now. He's not a major league pitcher, but if he can just get a little stronger, add a little bit more, I think he could be.
Let's just go up our list because we're running out of time here. Yeah. So let's just see where we differ the most. I know you're not as high on Alex Clemmy, and neither am I. No. I think right now I only have him at 14 because of the way the system looks. I have Welbin Francisca at 13. Obviously, that's aggressive. Churio at 12. Cody Morris, I still have at 11. Justin Campbell, I didn't move because he didn't pitch all year, even though the injury, you worry about that. Angel Martinez, 9. Cantillo, 8. I had him 14 to start the year. Now that he's proving he's healthy, I have him up. Juan Brito, I have at 7 now. I have Ralphie Velasquez above him. I really believe in Velasquez, I suppose. DeLauder at 5. I started him at 12. I've seen some good things. Valera at 4 for me right now. Rocchio at 3, even though he's going to lose eligibility here by the end of the year. Obviously, Naylor still has eligibility left, but he's coming so close to losing it. I don't have him ranked. Same with Gavin Williams. I believe he already graduated. I have Kyle Manzardo at 2, and I have Espino at 1 only due to the upside. Because, I could hear an argument for Manzardo being 1 just because of Espino's injury right now.
Yeah, I didn't include Rocchio. So I still believe in Lavastida. I think he rebounded well this year. So I have him at 14. 13, Alex Mooney, who was my second highest rated player they drafted. I kept Justin Campbell. I guess I moved him. Did I move him up? He's at 12 for me. I thought he'd be a top 10 guy if he's healthy. He wasn't. I have Watson at 11. I don't have Welvin Francisco because I really haven't seen him. And I'm not going to rank a guy based on other people's reports. That's just my general view. So yes, I could look very dumb in a year, but I'm not going to rank someone by stealing someone else's reports. I have to watch him. Khalil Watson, I think it's 11. Jason Churio, 10. I haven't been able to see clips. There's a little bit more. I had him ranked a year ago. That's why I have Chase DeLauder at 9 because I have massive swing concerns with him. The tools are there, but that swing might need some work. Then I have Rafi at 8. I really like the ceiling. I have Cody Morris at 7. Angel Martinez, George Valera, Joey Cantillo at 4. And then Brito, Manzardo, Espino was kind of tier 1 for me in that, Brito 3, Manzardo 2, Espino 1. Because again, ceiling. He's the only guy on this. Kyle Manzardo is probably a very good player, but not a star. The only guy on this list where I feel like can be a star is Espino.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think Chase DeLauder can be a star too, but again, there's a lot of
I think he's going to be Will Benson. Like best outcome is similar to what we're seeing with Benson now, which is interesting that they drafted him since they seem to be divesting themselves of everyone who was like that.
DeLauder's never had the strikeout issues that Will Benson had.
We'll see as he rises. I think he might start having a little bit. He's not going to have that same level of strikeout. He also doesn't have the same level of physical tools. He's a good athlete, but Will Benson is a freak of nature. Like that, the arm strength. I mean, Will Benson is just. There aren't many people.
Swing coming out of high school was very raw.
Yeah.
There are. I mean, the Chase DeLauder swing thing is weird because he does have the varied mechanics that you just don't see from a lot of hitters. And I really even question how much you can change his mechanics because this is how good he's successful with that. And when you go and you make changes like that to how a guy has been successful,
which is why some people really didn't like him in last year's draft class.
Yeah,
that's why some people were really not fans because they thought he needed a complete rechange.
I could probably be higher on Cantil. You've got him a little bit higher. I could probably be higher there,
just because I think he's a major league pitcher.
Yeah, I have him at 8 only because there is an injury concern history there, and the walks are there, and I usually will rank everyday players above pitchers more times than not because of injury risk and impact. And I think Brito and Velasquez and DeLauder all have a chance to be impact hitters in some way, shape, or form. Same with Manzardo, even though we're not talking about stars, they can be impact hitters.
I mean,
and the only reason I have Espino number 1 again is because there isn't a player in the system right now that has superstar upside, and Espino is. But obviously,
I think the highest offensive profile actually belongs to Velasquez.
I agree.
Hot take, but like he is. I go through it like Valera and DeLauder are going to have contact issues. I'm not saying DeLauder is going to.
Brito doesn't offer a ton of power, even though
Brito doesn't have power.
It could be 20 home run power.
Martinez doesn't have a ton of power. Manzardo, I mean, maybe he gets to be like a 300. Maybe he's Will Clark if everything goes right. But like Ralphie is plus hit plus power. Like he's like 65, 70 grade power from the looking. He's not the biggest guy, but boy, does he have some good EVs. So if everything works, he might.
The arm is great behind the plate.
Yeah. I mean, I guess technically, the only other guy in that conversation is Khalil Watson. But
well, yeah, because I talked about this on my other podcast too. Like, how I think it was Cato that did this. I think that remember when Fangraphs used to have
little Chris Mitchell. He's with the Twins now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
the WAR projections, and it used to give you the percentage outcomes of 0 WAR to 20 WAR. Khalil Watson is like if they had Cato now publicly. Khalil Watson, the highest probability for him, WAR-wise, would be 0, right? It'd be because he might not make it. But the second highest one, probability-wise, might be like 20 or 30 because if he does make it, he's a superstar. Like, I'm not saying that he won't make I'm like, there's obviously a world where Khalil Watson makes the majors and is just like a dude, like average dude, maybe even a utility player, whatever. But if you're talking about the most likely outcomes for him, it's superstar or it's a guy who doesn't even make the majors ever.
Yeah.
Those are the most likely outcomes for that guy.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's just interesting because a year ago I could go 20 deep where I felt, but just so
coming into the year, we spent a whole episode saying like, I don't even know where my cutoff at 20 is because you had Justin Campbell, you had, obviously the 3 pitchers, you had, Bo Naylor, who looked like a star. And
I mean, it's a mix of graduations and disappointments, and almost nobody, like I said, Franco Alamán, Diane Frias, Juan Brito. Those are the guys who really took the bull by the horns this year and improved their valuation significantly. Other than that, it's just like a lot of guys moved up because other guys graduated. Right. Or it's like Jason Churio. I wish they just go ahead and we didn't get to talk about the players moving up.
We'll get there tomorrow.
But
yeah, there's an argument for Dan. There's an argument for Diane Frias in the top 15 even.
Yeah. And I guess in fairness, Churio is probably also in that Watson Velasquez group. But that's the thing. All 3 of those guys haven't really shown. Well, no, I don't think Watson's quite there. I think it's because he has contact issues. So like Churio and Velasquez are the guys we know who it's a pretty clean profile and again, so far.
With Watson, it's just not a player they've ever succeeded developing. They haven't succeeded developing a whole lot of hitters. Quan is like their most successful development story right now.
I mean, hey, it's Will Benson and Nolan Jones. They just aren't playing here, and Yandy Diaz, and you know,
I
those
have that
guys
headache again, Jeff.
that
Thank
they
you.
didn't keep. But
This
no,
episode brought to you by aspirin.
but it is interesting. Just I know we're already like gonna get yelled at, but you know, we talk about Watson up here, we talk about Valera up here, we talk about Chase DeLauder up here. These aren't their guys. These aren't their major league level type of guys. These are guys with the hit tool being the most questionable one. So it's interesting that they have collected a series of prospects who do not fit what they're trying to do.
Well, when they were signed or drafted, that wasn't the issue. People thought they weren't going to have.
I mean,
hit tool
DeLauder
issues.
was last year, and I mean, anyone who watched him knew there were swing issues.
I mean, the numbers haven't borne out yet that he is not having swing and miss issues at Lake County. I will tell you that. I don't have concerns with the strikeout rate. I just have concerns about how much he's going to impact the ball. Like he's not striking out at all at high A. He's not walking right now. It's a small sample size, but I just have more concerns about the batted ball profile more than any of the strikeouts. And how often he cuts himself off with that truncated swing, and if it allows him to extend enough to hit for power, because he has to cheat to get to some pitches.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, right now he's just an unrepented hacker in high A.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a walk rate under 3%. Like he is right now. He is Oscar Gonzalez.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of room to compare those two. Not to like say that he's necessarily. I mean, obviously, I think higher of him likely because he's top 10. But I mean, that's what he's doing down
there. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's 20 games, and we'll see.
Yep. Well, thank you all for listening. As we went long again, we will cut these down eventually, or we'll get yelled at until we do. Thank you for doing your part, being part of the Locked On Guardians team. Remember to rate and review, download daily. It helps, and go Guardians, go.
Score.